Hi, I'm Jeanne Fiorini, and you are in the Tarot Tips. Thanks for being here. We're going to finish out our triad of videos connected to the pandemic, which we are experiencing in March, currently in the United States, but let's call it the pandemic of 2020, with a little examination of the Fool card. Now, the Fool card is related tangentially to what's going on, I would say, because the Fool is the card that connects us to our most authentic selves, to our soul energy. And it's not the immediate concern, but it's something for us to think about as we recreate our lives or as we re-enter our lives when this situation begins to wane. So it's something to think about, and the Fool is a card in the tarot that there's a lot of misunderstanding about and a lot of confusion about, so we'll talk about that card today. Like in the previous video, I pulled Fool cards from 6 different decks, the same decks that I used in the video about the devil, previous video. So we'll be taking a look at those, but let me just give a little bit of an intro to the Fool card. I did make a reference to Pan being connected to the Fool card in the tarot. That's not exactly correct. Pan is more directly connected to the Devil card, and the Fool is connected with Dionysus. But I just want to make the correlation between Dionysus and Pan. Just a very quick thing. Both come from the Greek family tree. Both are wild nature gods. Both are gods that have an abandon kind of sense to them. They see how I'm kind of going like that. It's like they just experience life in the moment, both of them. They're each connected to sex and fertility, to regeneration, to enjoyment of the physical plane, and the value of procreativity, creativity, that kind of business. Dionysus has more of a royal lineage, we might say. He's thought of as the one of the children of Zeus and Demeter. And Zeus could be associated with the emperor, Demeter with the empress. So Dionysus is pretty high up there in the Greek family tree in terms of an important creative energy. He's associated, as you may probably know, with wine, with ritual madness, Dionysian revelry, that sort of thing, and with theater. So Dionysus is this very immediate urge, and that really brings us to the energy of the Fool. The Fool, as card 0, it's kind of hard to, when we talk about these archetypal energies, these things that are beyond the personality, we get into very flowery, expansive kind of language. But the Fool is really, if you can think about it, as the primal urge to manifest anything, to come into the physical plane, to create a piece of music, to plant a row of pine trees on the side of your yard. Maybe you don't know why you're doing it, but you just are compelled to undertake a certain action. So it's that movement towards something new, that urge to life, as it's sometimes called. Some people like to think about it as the attraction of the spirit to the physical plane. So this yearning to become manifest. Again, very flowery terms. The astrological association for the Fool is Uranus. Uranus is about transcending cultural expectations. So this is a place that we might find ourselves. Let's say after the virus has become an immediate concern. What are we going to create something new? Are we going to kind of try to go back to business as usual? What's going to be our urge to manifest? What are we going to feel compelled to manifest? And the urge, the Fool would really support the notion of authenticity. To when the dust settles here, if you're going to begin again, if you're going to recreate, reinvent yourself, now is a really good time to do it, because the rules have been broken, the game has changed, and the Fool is, I just imagine, waiting at the wings in our lives to bring in some new energy. So, you know, again, food for thought, not advice, just food for thought. Let's look at a few Fool cards, and we'll get a pretty good sense about the nature of this energy in the tarot. We'll start with the image that most people are familiar with, or that many people are familiar with, the Rider-Waite Smith Tarot Fool card. And we see some of the classic ideas here. The person who is not concerned about their physical well-being, or about anything on the material plane, but who is just in the moment, having their life. We rarely see any buildings in the Fool card, because he's not in the constructs of culture, in any sort of mindset. He's not in anything that is sanctioned or established. He's got his animal nature here, his instincts, to guide him and protect him and keep him alert. As card 0, I like to think of this as ground zero of creating your life. This is the place I consider of greatest authenticity when this card comes up. Of course, the Fool is going to have a negative aspect. Let's not talk about, I'll just say, well, I was going to say let's not talk about that today, but let's just say it can be about being careless, it can be about being thoughtless, it can be about not paying attention and being self-absorbed. I think we can see all that. But, you know, in the way that we're talking about it today, in terms of perhaps being at a base ground zero point in our lives, and the opportunity really to create something that's authentic and real for us, let's look out for where we might see Fool energy coming into our awareness. So we see that Rider-Waite. Here we have in the Mythic Tarot, as we might expect, here's Dionysus. He's emerging from the cave, emerging from this zero, emerging from the void. He's got his falcon. He's about to embark upon this path. We don't know where it will lead. We see again this very barren landscape. We see the sense of childlike adventure. Again, he's not worried about what's going to happen. He's ready for the journey. And in some ways, I mean, an image like this always reminds me of Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, about to take that yellow brick road. I think actually one of these, I was looking to see if I had a card with the yellow brick road. Let's look at this Connolly Tarot Fool card, which does show his path is purple, but he's there at the crossroads. He's got his dog. He, you know, looks like the Cliffs of Moher over here, but he's got his wand, his creativity. He's got his little backpack. You know, for the long journey that he is taking, the Fool doesn't pack a big suitcase. He's just got his essentials. So we see this idea about being at a point where there's a path to be taken. Daffodils indicate that this is a springtime kind of an energy that's really appropriate for us now. He's very pensive. Some Fools are very lighthearted. I think this Dionysian Mythic Tarot, you know, really has a sense of what the heck kind of an attitude. He has sort of a little smile on his face. This Connolly Fool looks a little bit more grown up, a little bit more pensive about the path that he might be taking. Okay, it's very similar in this Rider-Waite version. We don't see the path, we see the mountains in the background. We see the dog kind of nipping at the heels, or at that fool's arm there. Fools often have feathers, something on their hats. The Dionysian fool here has grape leaves, but we see the feathers of the bird. Feathers. Okay, so the feathers, who has feathers? Birds. Things that are in the air, spiritual, connected to the element of air there. That's a nicely colored fool image there. Leave it to Crowley to make it intense. Here we see this lion grabbing at the thigh of the person, or the person, that's not even a persona really, of this energy that's coming into form. I like to think of, and I probably read this along the way, that the lion is the instinct which keeps us paying attention, which kind of will nip at us if we're in a situation that isn't going to be good for us or healthy or whatever. So I like that the instinct is keeping the person on track here. Very much we see it being a wild kind of energy. We see the sun right at the second chakra, at the creative center, ready to burst forth into the physical plane. We see this idea of spiral and emerging energy. So a very dynamic Fool card there with Crowley. And we'll finish off with this whimsical, rather pleasant Fool from the Mother Peace card. Surrounded by many aspects of nature. We have the crocodile and the sun coming up, and he wears the Fool's wallet with the eye on it on his ankle, not, in a Fool kind of way. So he's doing the somersault. He's connected with rocks and plants and mountains. Still, we see nothing man-made there. It's all a very natural, primal kind of a scene. So when we put all that together, just look at them as a group and see the general vibe here of Fool energy. Are we going to feel this? Are we going to see this? Are we going to utilize this really magical, almost authentic energy and create something new when we're on the other side of this pandemic? The Fool is not afraid of change. He really embraces it, runs with it, doesn't know where it's going to take him, but he gets on the path. He listens to his instincts, trusts his nature, and see what unfolds. All right, everybody stay well. See you next time.